Okay, good afternoon. Welcome to this short presentation. I am pleased to read, which is a joint effort by historian Dr. José Ramos Rovi and myself, Dr. Javier Martín Párraga from the Department of English Studies. In this short presentation, we want to offer you a virtual visit to Women's Right National Historical Park, a very important place in the history of America, in the history of women's rights, as we'll discover in a second. The first thing we need to say is history is more than printed words. Obviously, when studying history, it's fundamental to have a look at primary sources and to study in depth documents written by historians who who teach us, what happened, why it happened, when it happened, what happened before, the effects of that given historical event on future events. But studying history is way more than reading and studying by heart. Studying history is discovering the people who produced, who made history, is getting in touch with real materials, ideally stepping on the very places those historical characters lived, or the places in which those historical characters transformed their present, produced a significant change into the future. Unfortunately, it's very, very hard for us to travel. It's very hard, it's very expensive. Well, in these COVID-19 times, is impossible to get a plane and travel to I don't know, America or Africa or any other place to visit those historical scenarios. Fortunately enough, many opportunities are available over the internet. Today, we want to present you or to welcome you to a very interesting place, to an American historical park which is devoted to Seneca Falls Conference. What is Seneca Falls Conference? Well, to make a very long story short, a very complex, rich, exciting, positive story short, in the year 1848, a group of 68 women and 32 American men sat down, talked, debate, um, rewrote the Declaration of Independence of the United States of America from the point of view of women's rights. As you all know, in the year 1776, American colonies fought an independence war. It was a revolutionary movement. It transformed Western history because American colonies became the United States of America. It was the first colony to become independent from the metropolis. They produced a very democratically oriented country. It wasn't democracy, but they approached democracy very soon with the American Constitution. Unfortunately, time passed, and in the year 1848, Americans were independent from King George, from England, but women were not independent from their husbands, from their brothers, from the estate. Year 1848, Americans were independent, but women couldn't open a bank account of their own, couldn't possess material wealth, or couldn't, I don't know, sign a contract. They were not even legally responsible for their actions. So that 100 people wrote this seminal, extremely influential document, the Declaration of Rights and Sentiments, which becomes one of the first fundamental legal and historical movements for women's rights and feminism. We don't have the time here to debate about the meaning of feminism and whether, it's very complex, so we're not talking about that here. So, why do we want to show you or to ask you, to join us in this virtual visit to Women's Rights National Historical Park? Well, because by visiting this website, by offering or by taking, your students with you to this website, you're going to be able to put yourselves a little bit into the shoes of those pioneer women, pioneer men who transform American history and who open the path to women's rights, not only in America, but in the Western world. So here you have the hyperlink to that extremely interesting web page. First thing I need to say is this Women's Rights National Park, National Historical Park, is placed in Seneca Falls, not far away from New York, but it's not the only National Historical Park the American government, created. They are open and they welcome visitors. Well, they used to welcome visitors. Sorry. Right now with the COVID-19, they don't take visitors, obviously, but they offered many, many interesting opportunities to discover American history and American nature. This is the main page. Sorry. As you can see, it's already full of goodies, full of interesting materials for you and your students to enjoy, to discover, to visit, But the first thing I want you to visit is basic info. Click on brochures, and here you have all the different printed brochures which are offered to visitors. Sorry, as PDF files you can download. You can share with your students. They are absolutely free and copyright free, so you can feel free to explore them, to download them, to print them, or to use them any way you find them useful. So these brochures are absolutely full of information, absolutely interesting. You have a general brochure on the park, on the one on the Wesleyan Chapel, in which those men and women met and signed the document. You have another brochures on the pioneer men and women who got together and changed the world in a way, and it's full, as you see, of very, very interesting information. You even have an audio accessible brochure, which is great. So, because if you don't download it, you can listen to real American speakers reading those materials aloud, which is a great way to learn history and a great way to improve your English. Because, teaching history, teaching English, teaching culture, literature, humanities are interconnected. That's why I'm working together with a historian, and you get the transcript from those audios, which is absolutely important, So once you have downloaded those brochures, you can learn about the park, head to photos and multimedia, and you're gonna find a very interesting photo gallery. You get images from Elizabeth Cady Stanton House. It takes a little bit to open, sorry about it. You get as much as 11 images, which can be not only searched, but printed, downloaded for free. They are absolutely copyright free, I repeat, You get images from many other important places. And if you keep browsing, I'm gonna ask you to visit the virtual tour, which is absolutely amazing. It takes a little bit because when you click on virtual tour, you are taken to this Google Maps page in which a virtual visit is offered, So you get the feeling you are really walking, you are really there, which is great. To make things even more impressive, you get high resolution images and you can walk around, you can have a look at all those places. Have a look at that. It's really, really amazing. It's like traveling there without really traveling. You can also see the environment, You can visit many other interesting places, high resolution images, sorry. So have a look at all those amazing materials which are offered for free. Now, we go back to learn about the park one more time. and we get to see history and culture where we discover those pioneers. Have a look, sorry, at how many interesting materials are offered. Here you have, sorry, the transcript of the Declaration of Sentiments. You're also giving really interesting information, sorry, about those women who met there. You get a very interesting timeline, which is really, really interesting. It offers a lot of information about women trying to get the right to vote back, sorry, which is contextualized within American society and culture. You go back. Sorry, I forgot something. You even get to see here. If you click on signers, you get to know the signers of that document. You're given a short but accurate and interesting biographical small entry on many of those pioneers, you see, which, sorry, with sources, and it's really well documented. It's really, really, really interesting. So you can also explore not only people but places. And they even offer you these very amazing images in which they show how those national historical monuments were rehabilitated. We go back because there are still many things we need to have a look at. Stories. You get even more information on the petit receipts, sorry, according to Lyotard's technology. Women rights movement, information on the women rights movement, sorry. The 19th Amendment, which is fundamental. This amendment to the Constitution finally, opened the door for women to get the right to vote. Have a look at how well documented it is, and have a look at how many interesting images this webpage offers for free. So more goodies, sorry, stories. As you know, fighting for rights, for civil rights, is always connected. So women fighting for, sorry, so people fighting for women rights were also involved in the abolition movement. So here you can see how the abolition movement, and women rights movement is connected, full of hyperlinks, full of references and materials you can discover with your students. Sorry. There you can see MPS history, educating the public about the history of national park services, which is very interesting as well. As I told you, there are many, many national parks which are worth visiting or virtually visiting, sorry. And finally, I want you to visit collections, because here you get many, many interesting materials you can study and discover with your students. I told you, but having a look at those materials, your students, yourself, are able to put yourselves a little bit into those first men and women's shoes. All those artifacts are explained, very clearly explained, and you can download those images for free. You can share them using social media, if that is your cup of tea or anything. So back to gallery. Sorry. Finally, this website is not only important and interesting for teachers or for students, but it's also highly recommended for historians and researchers because it offers a collection of very, very interesting first sources, primary sources, yeah, and secondary sources, which are important to discover women rights and Seneca Falls Conference. So you are given access to some high quality scholarly materials here. It takes a little bit to open, but it opens, I promise. Just give me or give the internet a second so you can see which type of materials are offered here. It's worth our time. In the meantime, have a look at some of the materials which are offered for free as well. Okay, it's taking long, sorry about it. Have a look at this. So we have access to that microfilm, which is full of interesting stories and materials. And, and one more time, these materials are free. They can be used, they can be checked, they can be distributed, they can be printed, they can be downloaded for free, which is highly, highly interesting and highly important. We finished this presentation simply saying that we wanted to show you a little example of how much the internet allows historians and people studying history to travel and to visit fundamental places in the history of America, in the history of many other places. I think these materials, these resources are extremely useful. They always are extremely useful, and they are even more useful in these times in which we are isolated and we are trying to be guarded and safe, to be defending ourselves against the virus by not abandoning our houses. So, without exiting the house, without getting threatened or endangered, we can travel to Seneca Falls and discover this amazing small part of American history, of women's rights history. Thank you very much.